Welcome in, everybody, wherever you are, however you may be listening. This is your Wednesday wrap up, maybe. Man, how you doing this morning?
I would say, how are you doing? But I'm afraid you might not be able to get the answer out to me. So, man, I am doing great and I am prepared for anything.
Yeah, well, that's good. You're gonna need to be. Um, yeah, so weird. Just for whatever reason, our stream is having a hard time finding our platform's server. So if it seems choppy, it's because it is. And
Are they
but at
mad at
least
each
the
other?
streaming
Like,
service is
did they
expensive.
break
So
up?
we got that going for us.
Did they break up and we don't know about it? Is that like some trouble at
Absolutely.
home? Oh,
I
okay.
feel like the way it's broadcasting, they're in the process of breaking up.
Ah,
This is them throwing plates at each other right now.
and we're just the kids caught in the middle of the whole thing.
Man, pretty
Roll Tide,
much.
everybody.
Pretty much. All right. Well, trying not to derail this show completely. So, I don't know if you saw the. I didn't see the entirety of the game, but NBA yesterday, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm talking to you, really.
I got NBA
This is
entirety of the game. I don't know what game yet
This is
though,
terrible.
so I don't know if we're talking Lakers and Luka
No, so
or
yes, yes. Wow. Yeah. So NBA and the Lakers, the feeling on it's a little different than what the general talking heads are talking about. I'm looking at it as, are the refs as soft as the league at this point?
yeah. That's when the fan comes out and says, "Hey, nothing bad happened," then come on. And even taking a step back, right? We already know you're not here to see the refs, right? No, that's never been an attraction. Okay. You're also supposed to give a little bit more leeway to your stars, to where no matter if there's an inkling that you think, well, maybe I'm wrong on this, you keep that guy in the game. Okay. And that would come down from the top, right? Look, the seventh guy, off the bench, whatever, if he's yapping and he's got maybe a short lead, nobody cares. But Luka, it's half your star power in the game right there.
Exactly.
Unless he turned around and cussed you out personally, that guy's staying in the game. And the fact that he was yapping at a fan makes it even a fan that was there was banner back and forth, and the fan is like, "Hey, bro,
Exactly.
we were just trash talking." That. So to your original question, have the refs became soft? Half of it feels like soft, and half of it feels like they just they feel like they have to insert them into games at times. Because I think we think that sometimes in football
Yeah.
as well. Like, is this guy just not getting enough mic time?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what, but it's a huge problem, especially in a show. In a show, I mean, it might be a show, especially in a sport like basketball, which already having an optic problem and a ratings problem, right? You can't have games where you have that one of your top seed, the Thunder, versus one of your biggest draws, LeBron, the Lakers, Luka, and you toss Luka. These things just shouldn't happen. Period.
Well, especially in a game that was highly competitive, right?
Yes.
It was tied after that, actually. And then without Luka there, they go and get smoked. How's it going, Win?
What? I can't take these changes. That's Win. Did you do something with your hair different?
Oh,
Win?
yeah.
No?
Well, that's because she checked in from X instead of on YouTube.
I didn't think I ever knew. I didn't know Win had an X.
Yep.
I'm old, when you
Yep.
can't surprise me.
Man, I might end up having to restart this machine. Like this is really rough. But we'll keep going. We'll try and power through.
Okay.
The other staying in basketball, the NCAA March Madness comes to an end, and we have a championship game that was about as sloppy a game as you could get. Gators still end up with the win, but man, they were really trying to give that game away. They were 3/4 of the way through. They had 12 turnovers to Houston's 4. I mean, they were doing everything in their power to lose that game. The only lead until the end of the game in the last minute and a half was when they were ahead 8-6 right at the beginning of the game. And then they weren't really, I mean, they never led until the last minute and a half, but not even just that. A lot of it, they weren't even close. Like it was very much a game of runs, and their runs were always to just catch back up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that Houston won a game where they were losing like 95% of the time. What's up, Chad? And then they win. Then they lose. Okay, sorry. They won a game where they were losing 90% of the time. Turn right back around and lost the game where they were winning 95% of the time. But the Florida game was very much a Houston game. Depending on what side you look at it, it was either very physical or semi-pro wrestling, depending on, I described it as physical. One of the people watching last night says they were basically tackling people up there. But that's the kind of game Houston likes. Let me muck it up, let me play physical, see how much we can get away with through the refs, and keep it low scoring. And Florida does have a good defense, but they are built on, we've got a lot of firepower. And Clayton, I think, what he had either 2 points at halftime or 0 points at halftime. They had basically shut him down, and Florida was going nowhere. But they did, said pull it through in the end. And was that not the most anticlimactic final sequence ever, to not even get a shot off at the end of the game? Is just, I feel bad for the players, but it's really unforgivable to not even get anything at the basket, So you're thinking when the guy goes up to shoot a 3, if it's going to get blocked, even if you double pump and throw, something has to happen, right? Because what happens there is you go up to shoot, guy comes to block it, you don't get the ball up. At least 2 guys down low have already turned towards the basket because they're trying to track where the rebound is, right? Your other 2 guards are like, okay, are we going in to crash to get a rebound? When you drop it, no one knows what's happened, for real, unless you are watching the whole entire shot. Us at home, of course, we're like, oh, he just dropped it. Everyone else is like, hey, man, pick the ball up and do something, So it's just like no recognition, no anything. And we end up with the ball just on the ground and time runs out. That was not the way to end your championship game at all.
Yeah. No, it was that end towards the basket. You're out of time anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, especially because, to your point, like everybody else is getting ready for that rebound. And so nobody's in a position to come get that ball. You were isolated anyway. So it's not even like you had anybody that was out there to try and give you a screen or anything. Like you were already isolated. Then you go up like you're going to shoot. Everybody makes a move like they're going to get a rebound. I mean, because if somebody was watching the play, it means they weren't doing their job to begin with.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Even if they would have recovered that, they wasted 4 seconds on that. Yeah. So it was, it was just a very weird ending.
It was. One mistake I always think teams make towards the end of these games too. I understand the whole thing. Like, we don't want the other team to get another possession. But when you're down, at some point you have to think, the first shot I take might not go in. I have to give myself a chance for a rebound, time for a rebound to get another shot. And then if I miss a shot and the other team gets the rebound, I have to give myself some time to foul and maybe catch back up. When you have the ball and it's like 20 seconds left and you're trying to get a shot at 5, like you're basically saying, hey, win or lose, we're winning or losing on this shot. You don't give any other options. I never understand that. Because Raj even asked last night, like, you think they should have just gone to the basket? Yeah, at some point, with 20. And what if the other team has a chance to win it on there? Okay, well, your team's built on defense. Okay, if you have a tie game with 10 seconds left, don't you trust your defense to get you to OT? That's what you built the whole thing on. So I don't know. I don't like the strategy. I get what they say. We don't want to take a shot too quick and the other team get it. Okay, well, if you don't get any shot, that's kind of worse. So, maybe pick a better strategy. So
exactly.
But and it's not just Houston. You see it all the time. Teams dribble, don't really have a plan, whatever. Hey man, go score. Because not scoring is terrible. So, and not getting a shot towards the basket is also terrible.
Well, and in a game like this, you want to give yourself more than one shot anyway, because it's not like either team was just knocking down baskets.
Exactly.
Like, neither team was shooting particularly great. Especially down the stretch, it was a lot of fouls. It was turnovers. They were missing layups on both ends of the floor. So,
yep.
Like if you can't get a ball to go in anyway, you probably don't want the game to hinge on, let me heave a last second one and hope for the best. You haven't had open plays land in the hoop.
Yes. No, that's an excellent point. It was weird the second half because they hardly called any fouls in the first half. And it's like they had a meeting at halftime and said, oh, I want to say like the first 5 minutes had more fouls called than the whole the first 5 minutes of the second half had more fouls called than the whole first half, combined from both teams. It's like, so we've just changed the whole flow of the game. And no, that's an excellent point. You're not scoring and you're saying, hey, you know what? This one shot, a deep three, is going to be the one. Like, no, give yourselves more bites at the apple. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, the increase in penalties was very weird, or fouls rather. I'm used to football.
I'm sitting there going, wait, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, no, it's totally not. Yeah, there's flags on the play, no big deal.
Whatever.
But
right?
no, it was where it was weird was I forget the guy's name offhand, but he had 3 fouls in 9 seconds.
I know you're talking
about. Two of them were legitimate fouls. The third one felt kind of ticky-tack, right? But at the same time, it makes you wonder if, because guys were really beating each other up out there, I wonder if they were calling the game more closely in the second half to avoid it getting real chippy, because it looked like it might go that way, especially because you started having guys get their legs tangled up a lot. Yeah. And so some of the fouls were getting harder, right?
Yeah.
Like your point earlier, you were saying sometimes it looked like they were just about to tackle guys. So I think they started calling it closer just because they didn't want this to become an issue on the court. And if that's why, I'm not mad at it. If they just wanted to insert themselves in the game, man, what do we do?
Yeah. And the problem has become, as like with your first point with Luka stuff, that's actually a question now. Is it the refs? And so you can't tell anymore, because it did look like the polar opposite halves from a referee standpoint. So now, and I'd love to believe that they just said, hey, we don't want this to get out of hand. But it was a weird start to the second half. Even the announcer was like, okay, so now we're calling like everything. So, I don't think the play styles changed drastically at halftime. So it had to be just, you guys just decided, we know we got away with it. And to the players, not credit really. I mean, I guess to bad for them is I've been playing this way all half. I come out the second half playing what I did the first half, and now it's a foul. That makes no sense to me. Had you called it in the first 5 minutes, you don't get it the rest of the way.
Yeah, well, and that's my biggest thing with refs in any sport, right? Like, I just want you to be consistent. Yes. If what you're calling is what you're calling all day, cool. I can adapt my game for that, right? Whether it's an ump calling an outside edge, a strike, but he's calling it a strike for everybody. Okay, cool. That's part of the strike zone. Awesome. If you're football, certain things are illegal alignments or whatever. If you're calling it the same all day, cool. It's when you're changing what we're calling part of the way through, or right at the end of a game where you're like, oh, okay, well, now hand fighting down the field is pass interference. You're like, well, I mean, but we were doing it all day, right? So then in this case where you got, our legs got tangled up, not a foul earlier, but now because I have the ball, the other guy gets a foul for it. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of weak. If you were doing that all game, be more in control of your body. I get it.
Yeah.
But if for half of the game it didn't matter, that's hard to watch.
Yeah, it is, because you get used to a certain play style. I know certain players have said it, and certain coaches said you kind of use those first few minutes to kind of feel out the game, see what's going, see what the flow is. You can't turn that off. Say you come out of the locker room, at least then the officials at issue warrant, hey guys, we're calling a tighter, says something, but you don't find out until you start playing. Beep, you're like, but I've been doing that. Like, what just changed? Like, wife made me mad at halftime, taking out you guys. Like, I don't know, or does it honestly happen where the league calls down and says, hey man, we got to change it doesn't make sense in the bigger scheme of things. So,
well, and as drastic as this one was, that's why it made me think that, hey, maybe at half they're like, look, we got to call this tighter so that this doesn't get out of hand, start getting chippy fights, maybe, because again, guys were fouling each other kind of hard. And so you're just like, okay, if they were trying to rein the game in, I'm not even mad at it.
Right.
But it just seemed so different first half to second half that you're just like, I mean, what exactly are we doing here? Yeah. And it would have been, I mean, if you were going to do that, I think you'd almost have to, coming out of half, as your lead ref, your umpire, go over to the coaches and be like, guys, come here. Like, hey, we gotta control this a little bit more. Yes. Get your guys, let your guys know, hey, we're going to be calling the second half a little tighter because it's getting a little out of hand. That would have been fine. Because at least you have something there. The coaches can go to their players like, hey, we were able to do these things in the first half, but they're like, we're done. Like, you're not doing it anymore. And that would be fine, right? Because then there's a level of expectation put out there where you're just like, okay, this is what it is. You get the foul after that. Cool, right? You're just like, okay, fair enough. But when it's just like, oh yeah, now it's a foul. It's like, but it wasn't 5 minutes ago.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I would absolutely be in favor of that. Call the coaches together and give some kind. Hey, we let it too much go. We're trying to rein it in. Here we go. Yep. So, first half was mom and she was being a little lenient, and she went and got dad and said, all right, look, we're cracking the whip on the kids. Let's go. So, I'm fine with that, but tell them something.
That's you want me to give you a reason to cry?
I mean, I feel like that would have at least been fair. You say that, then the first foul you have coming out of half, they're like, okay, they were serious about it. Let's go. Versus the first beep, really? And then beep, oh, what? And now it's just kind of like nobody really knows what's going on anymore.
Yeah. No. I mean, the ref thing, again, is across all sports is frustrating a lot of the times. I have a hilarious soundbite from a coach that I can't use, right? Because it'd probably get him in trouble. But because it's here and I am not showing the video, to paraphrase, he's just like, yeah, it's tough to win at home with these bum ass refs. I'm just like, oh, but there was a ton of penalties during the game. And so you're just like, I mean, I get it. And a bunch of them weren't, I mean, they were called so tight. Like it was weak. Put it that way. It was weak. And so I get the frustration. Now, obviously, I'd never get an interview again if I post that. So, have to Yeah. Well, and you don't want to get them in trouble with their leagues and stuff like that. So I mean, you have to be smart about it, but at the same time, you're like, man, that'd be such a hilarious soundbite.
Right. Right. I get it
The
though. I
comments you
mean,
make on that would be amazing.
yeah. Well, when he retires, I guess we'll maybe we can get that one back out there. But I get it. We get frustrated as fans. I can't imagine what the coaches are going through too. It's like nobody came here to watch you guys. We want to see the product on the field. And
Yeah.
when you have to go into, I've always said this, when you have to go into like super slow mo or slow it down and get 5 views to justify a penalty call, then it just wasn't a penalty. Just let them play on and go. I've always felt like you could, I know it's switching sports, but football, you can call holding on like almost every play, it feels like. Guys, there's certain things that you have to let go to get the flow of the game. Nobody wants to see the refs. I feel better if I don't know any of the refs' names. Okay. And if I never see their pictures, we're good. Sometimes you just got to let it play out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think back to, like I think back to when I was a kid, like the only ref you really knew was Hockey Lee because he had just cannons for arms, right?
Yep.
And he always wore like the BT so he could show the things off. But
no.
But outside of that, you didn't really know who any of them were.
No.
And now it feels like you are. And now it feels like you're learning the names of every ref.
Yes. And certain crews. Like you're like, oh, it's a such and such crew tonight. They like to call out of penalties. Oh, it's a certain such crew. Like, okay, it's going to be a free throw kind of night. And you're like, why are you known for consistently calling a lot of stuff? That doesn't make sense. We want the crew that's like consistently known for being good. No.
Yeah, let's have that. Let's have a crew that you're just like, oh yeah, this is a good crew.
Yeah.
That is never what the announcers are saying.
I know. Oh, here's a crew that leads the league in penalties per game. Yeah.
The retirement montage. Let's go. That actually would be pretty funny to have like just all the best sound bites.
I'm tuned in for that show.
Of course, by the what's that?
I said I would tune in for that show.
Oh yeah.
I can't tell if he's
freeze up all the way.
I can hear your voice, but now your face is like got that one look going.
Man. Okay. So what we'll do, because this is killing me, because I'm catching like every other word and I'm just trying, like I think I know what you're saying.
I'm trying to read lips now.
So I'm gonna have to restart this thing. Yeah, kind of. I gotta restart my machine here because this is absolutely murdering my soul. So so that being said, you got all the Alabama gear. So let us know where it is you see your team next year. Are you gonna be a 4-loss team, or you surging back to the front? I imagine you have enough of that that gives me time to restart this thing.
I will. I'm going to finish a real quick thing on the national championship and the SEC. Yep. I got you, sir. I got you. All right. My last bit on the national championship game and how the SEC did in basketball this year, just to cap that topic. We said going into the tournament, the SEC with this historic season had to get 2 teams in the Final Four. They really, and we didn't know how it would shake out. We needed a team in the championship game, and you really kind of needed to win it to get, just to kind of justify the hype and everything this season. So Florida winning, capping it, that was good. I was kind of rooting for them. I do feel bad for Houston. I don't know how many more chances you're going to get to a title game like this or get to Final Fours like they have been, but kudos to Florida and kudos to them for winning. All right. I get to go for Alabama for while we're resetting now. So
yeah, you know it.
all right, so 8A is this weekend. Big Mike and I are going, and then our Saturday night show we'll cover a little bit of what happened there and stuff like that. And then next Tuesday we'll talk more about it. But there's a lot of excitement around the program this year. So much of the defense is returning, which was really unprecedented. We had a lot of key players who could have maybe tested NFL waters, possibly been transfer portaled out, and a lot of them returned just to get another crack at what was going on. Obviously, we finished last year 93 regular season, lose the bowl game in embarrassing fashion. Kalen DeBoer has only been there 1 year, and everybody's like, if he doesn't do well this year, he's getting fired. Grubb coming from Seattle, which I guess it wasn't great for him in Seattle, but he's that marriage needed to get back together. So a lot of people were excited about Grubb coming back to play call. Nobody was really happy with Sheridan. And let's be honest, the biggest question mark for Alabama right now is who's going to start at quarterback. But they've put together a solid offensive team around whoever gets to be quarterback, to where everybody what's up, Raj? I don't think I could put your stuff up there. Yeah, that's on. Good morning, Bo and James Worthy for Raj. What's up, Raj? Raj, you're missing it this morning because Bo had to step out and reset his machine. So he said, Herb, talk about Alabama until I get back. So Raj, this is where you should be enjoying, and this is where you should be happy. But no, with the offensive like the wide receiver room is probably better than it's been in years. I think last year we thought we had decent receivers, and you kind of find out maybe you had two, and then a bunch of guys who are just guys. Now you've still got those same two, Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams, the Germinator in Hollywood. But the fight for that third spot has become like 4 or 5 deep, to where, heaven forbid, Bernard or Hollywood's not having a good game and you had to move one of those guys up. You don't feel like you're just dropping off a cliff like maybe you did last year. So Horton, a transfer from Miami, shown great strides in practice. Lotier Brooks, an incoming freshman, they are raving about him. And I get it. Practice is practice. We talking about practice. We talking about practice. So I totally understand that. But you still see the things they're doing. You see how hard they're working. You've seen multiple sources kind of put eyeballs and say, yeah, what you hear is really good. But that's just the first two there. And you still got a plethora of people behind them that you love to slide into that spot. So you feel like the wide receiver group's going to be fine. Running backs, you're running about 5 or 6 deep. You did lose one to Michigan last year, but you still have several guys in there, plus a transfer, plus Graylin Washington going to transfer. You have A.K. Deer coming in. You still got Jam Miller and Richard Hill. So you still have several great running backs. And now you have a play caller who you feel like is going to better utilize the run game. I feel like the offense will be way more balanced next year. So love the running game complement. The wide receivers are out there. Line still has a couple questions. They're still sliding some guys around. Caden Proctor is one of your biggest question marks. Is he going to stay at left tackle? Or are they going to move him inside? But again, got some freshmen coming in to help fix the line. So honestly, after quarterback, offensive wise, tight end is your next problem. I want to say we're getting up to between 4 and 6 tight ends on the roster, but everyone right now is hurt, banged up, or not here yet. You don't even have a tight end really in practice right now. So with the transfer portal opening next Wednesday, I believe, the Tide might actually have to go after a transfer tight end. And speaking of that, the two biggest spots that they need to address are, so we have 3 quarterbacks, Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, and Keelan Russell, the incoming freshman. Most people think Ty Simpson is going to win the job. Most people think Keelan Russell will be the backup. Austin Mack is a big transfer portal possibility to me because there's no path to him starting anytime soon. So if he does transfer, you're down to 2 quarterbacks. Even if he stays, you're at 3, and most teams like to keep 4. How do you get into the transfer portal and recruit your 3rd or 4th quarterback in the spring? Quarterback's one of those positions that sees a heavy transfer rate because there's no, if I'm on a team and I'm wide receiver 4, there still may be a path to me getting playing time. If I'm on a team and I'm quarterback 3 or 4, there's no path to me doing anything but holding a clipboard. So I could I see the need, but what is that recruiting pitch? Hey, do you want to come to Alabama? Probably not get any NIL money and not start. What do you say? So I don't see how they do that, but another quarterback would be great. I do think 1000% they'll get a tight end. We don't have anybody out here who's healthy, and you can't go, finish your spring and not really know what you have at tight end. So defense wise, they're just loaded all over the place. I think Kane Womack did a great job. He's been very fiery in practice. Like you said, you've got same thing on the other side of that ball. Dijon Lee, Ivan Taylor, great freshman incoming. You kept a lot of your guys. Damani Jackson, I know he's not practicing right now, but he's back there. Keon Sabb will come back, but while he was gone, Bray Hubbard filled in. Great for him along the line. LT Overton, which saw a quote from him today. He felt like last year they weren't able to, some of the incomers weren't able to step up the way they wanted to. And let's be honest, last year there was kind of an old regime of players in place, for better or for worse. They did kind of hold the team together, but at times they also kind of held the team hostage as well because they were the leaders and you couldn't really kind of come in and do stuff. I think this year, Kalen DeBoer, Kane Womack, those guys will be able to put their imprint more on the team. I think you're seeing that on defense. Kane Womack is getting after them in practice. You still got to get better on the defensive line, but if LT Overton is ready to take a step up like he's saying, that was a guy who was, had a shot at NFL, probably like second roundish, I believe. He's stepping up. One of the biggest things has been, hey, man, you just got to start finishing plays. He's a guy that get to the quarterback, and if it was two-hand touch, we a lot more sacks. So if he can get in there and finish, Justin Jefferson got to step into more of a leadership role last year. He's going to be better for them. So overall, we kind of looked at the schedule. We haven't done a full breakdown. You have to tune in for that later, especially after spring, after you see the final transfer stuff. But I want to say Raj and I both kind of agree at a 10-2 regular season for Alabama this year. Your home games, your toughest home games, clearly Tennessee and LSU. We tend to, these last couple of years, struggle with them on the road and beat them at home. So I think we can get both of those. Tennessee doesn't scare me as much. I'm just not a huge Nico fan. LSU, they've had a good offseason, and we're actually going to have an LSU person on the show 2 or 3 weeks from now. So we'll kind of get maybe a better feel from them. Nussmeier did return, so that'll be an interesting one there. The games that scared me, at Georgia, at Missouri, at Auburn. Those you have to at least win one of those and win all your home games. At Georgia, nobody really knows what we're getting out of Georgia. We know that the defense will probably be solid. There'll be a lot of question marks on offense. Gunnar Stockton, with your new quarterback, we've only seen him in very, very limited duty. Does he take the step forward, or do they, to go with somebody else at quarterback? Nobody knows. But that's going to be a tough environment. They're going to be one of the top teams in the SEC. I think CBS Sports already put out the game by game and had them only losing one. So, I'll end because Bo's here, and hopefully he's looking smooth again. But to answer your original question, Bo, I'm picking 10-2 regular season for Alabama this year and making the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I was listening on my phone.
Okay.
I was trying to make this come together, this dumpster fire of a Wednesday morning. Welcome to third Monday of the week. Yeah, no, I mean, 10-2, like I think you have the talent for it.
Yeah.
But we were going to talk a little.
Uh-oh. We're going to talk a little bit about how great I am and how much you love doing the shows. Oh, thanks, Bo. I appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. And part of the problem is
man. Yep. So I guess we're doing that. So yeah. Oh, good.
No, I was going to say the last thing I heard was we're going to talk a little bit about, and then I lost you.
See you next week. No. Got to have that cliffhanger, right? No, when it comes to college football, because you have these conferences that are getting so big now, are we kind of seeing the end of perfect seasons?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because now you don't get to have that, out of conference cupcake 4 or 5 games a year. Now you're probably maybe having one out of conference game, right? 1 or 2.
Well, the SEC is still behind because they're at 8 conference games and the rest of the conferences are at 9. So they still have that built-in cupcake before their rivalry games. And it's been a huge debate about what to do. I think, though, yes, once the SEC officially moves to 9, then that big out-of-conference game that you've been seeing, it will probably start to go away because they're like, look, our schedule's tough enough, without having to add that. And then one of my problems, though, the counter to that is like Texas played like one good team last year, in conference. When they have these big SMU, went to the ACC title game without playing like the top 5 teams in the ACC. So there are issues there where you can get to that great season with only having, an undefeated season with maybe playing 2 tough games there. So I think that's something that's got to be fixed. Texas, they basically welcomed into the SEC and said, hey, if you can beat Georgia, you're good. And then they lost to Georgia like twice in the same year, So I think those are kind of your outliers. You do have to get, I would like to see them go to 9, I think, and correct things like that. There's just no way you should get to the SEC championship game and play one of the top 5 teams. That doesn't make sense to me. And at SMU, same thing. How do you get to the ACC championship game, play 0 of them? So that neither one of those situations should repeat themselves.
No, and I mean, it seems like that'll end up having to happen, especially as you see these conferences get so big, right? Like the Big Ten with 18 teams. You don't even have time for out of conference games anymore, really. Right. Like with 18 teams, like you can have a full conference schedule and you still didn't play everybody.
Right.
So
easily.
I don't know. As this grows into 2 super conferences, which is probably what it's really going to be, and then it'll have divisions within. It just seems like because it's becoming pro sports overall, the odds of you having undefeated teams goes way down because now your schedule has a lot more parity, has a lot stronger teams in it. Teams like Notre Dame are going to be forced into a conference.
Right.
And some of that's just because people aren't going to be scheduling a ton of out of conference games because you don't have to. Right. And so they're going to be like, look, if you want a full schedule with teams that actually get you into the playoffs, you're going to have to join a conference.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Notre Dame one is a really good point there. They've kind of have a scheduling agreement with the AC. What's up, Nate? Nate joined us last night for the first time. I appreciate you. They kind of have a scheduling agreement with the ACC, but to your point, if the ACC goes away, they don't have a scheduling agreement with anybody else. So unless you're going to play like 10 or 11 MAC teams during the year and try to get to the playoffs that ways, exactly, you are gonna get sucked in. So 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about a totally different setup. And I don't know that it'll take 5 years. I'm just picking a point, but we're coming up on it quickly. I
feel like every year we're talking about something wildly different just because, and this is actually where I was going is they haven't fixed the playoff mess yet. No. They are expanding it this year. So there's going to be 2 more teams, but it's still going to be kind of a mess because the NCAA does a lot of ready, shoot, aim, right? Yeah. They are very reactive as opposed to actually just having a well thought out plan and then implementing it. They're like, oh yeah, we like this thing, we should do it. And then they roll it out and they're like, wow, that really didn't work very good. How do we band-aid it as opposed to just have an actual plan? So I don't know that there is a clear path to fix the playoff mess. I do like that they have a playoff. Like that's nice because it's worked in every other version of football. I always laughed when NCAA was like, oh, we can't do it. That'd be too hard. It's like, it's literally in every kind of football on the planet except D1. So, I mean, D2 had a playoff. What are we talking about? So, I mean, it's, I don't know. I think the biggest issue I had with the playoffs this year is they ran it bracket style. as opposed to the NFL where you had ranked teams and then they realigned as it went, right? They were just like, you have a it's like, it's not basketball, man. Like,
right. Although I think it would have ended up the same with the way that the teams won. My thing with the
there would have been one game that was different, I think. But yes, for the most part, it would have ended up that way. But because they ran it as a bracket, you could see how it could get very lopsided.
Oh, definitely. No, I agree 1,000% with that, because there was. So here's to that point. The real problem was they should have, if they were going to expand from 4, they should have gone to 6 or 8. They jumped from 4 to 12, and you quickly realized like there was at least 4 teams that had the records but probably didn't deserve to even be there. And because of that, that talent was spread out so much to where I think, what was it, Penn State had to beat like Illinois or whatever, Indiana or whatever, and Boise to get into like, you know, the semifinals. And like, how are some of these paths so uneven versus where, you know, Ohio State is playing Tennessee and then they're playing Oregon. For anybody who thought that Ohio State didn't earn it, you know, and then they play Texas and then they play the national championships. I'm like, how are these paths so different? They just shouldn't have gone to that many teams.
Yeah, like, well, that was like a juggernaut, murder's row to get there.
Yes.
And then you had the other side where it's like, oh, we have to get by the Sun Devils. And you're just like, I mean, I feel like one path is not quite the same as the other. And it's not going to get better this year when it, you know, when you have 14 teams, right?
No,
which is what the expansion is. The only thing I did like about it, I mean, obviously having the playoff was fantastic. But the other thing that was, I guess, encouraging about it is that 13th team, nobody felt bad for you. Win more games, right?
Yeah. We were the 13th team, and I didn't feel bad for us. So, no.
No, but I mean, like, that's the thing, right? Is it's just like, look, if you're the 13th team or now the 15th team, you really don't have a leg to stand on, right? Because say you got held out, but you had the same record as somebody else, and you're like, we should have been in there. It's like, yeah, you should have won one more game, and then it wouldn't have mattered at all, right? So at least it's that now, as opposed to, oh, it's a Power 5. We have an undefeated team, but we have a voting thing, so sorry about your luck. Yeah. That's where I hated the way that it was before. And so now at least you have a clear path. Win and get in, right?
Yeah. No, to make it even more specific, at the end of the year, did I think that Alabama was a better team than SMU? Absolutely. Sure. Did I think that Alabama should have made it? No. We had a 2-game playoff. You have Oklahoma and you have Auburn.
Yep.
Oklahoma, you're a huge favorite against. They have no wide receivers and no passing game. And you lose 24-3. You're out of the playoffs. So you can't sit back on the last day and rely on, oh, if SMU beats Clemson, we're in. That's you should have won more games. That's 1,000% on you and on your team. You had a clear path, a clear goal, and you messed it up. So we couldn't sit back and blame anybody else. That was on the team. So no, 1,000% agree. You can't, if you're the 13th team, win more games. And for this specific occurrence, win one more game and you're fine. That's on you.
Exactly. And so essentially that is, I mean, that's how the conference system works also, right? So, I mean, that wouldn't be any different. Again, this particular time through, it worked, right? There would have only been one game different had they actually filtered it the way they do with the NFL. But you could see how it could be very lopsided if they, you know, in a different scenario. If there were different teams would have made it, would have been very, I don't know. It wouldn't have been great football. You wouldn't have ended up with your best matchups for sure. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, and what, to Nate Dogg's point here, I do think they're supposed to be moving to 16 and 26.
Because something in this last playoff told them we needed more teams, or they just want more money because.
Oh, it's that.
You know, yeah.
It's that. Yeah. I mean, basically, they want to incorporate some of these bowl games that are still happening into the playoff, right? Because I mean, that's all they did with the playoff is they're like, oh, this is now this bowl game and this bowl game. The only thing that's kind of funny about it is now you can win multiple bowl games in a year.
Yes.
You could be the Cotton Bowl winner and the Rose Bowl winner and a national champ. And so, I mean, you can just be stacking trophies.
Like, yeah, I won the Cotton Bowl and the Rose Bowl in the same year. Did you change teams? No, same team. We're just that good.
Killing it. Yeah. No, it was the way they've gone about it is weird. I actually thought they were going to kind of get rid of the bowl game action, and maybe they will ultimately. But they're still trying to make the bowl game thing a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, you didn't get in, but now you're in the, Pop-Tart Bowl or what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like you have a little Pop-Tart guy running around the field. Like why?
Yeah. What's funny to me with the bowl games is I feel like teams are approaching them the wrong way. They're like, hey, here's our team for this whole year and who's staying, who's going. No, everybody who's staying, that's what you should use that game as. One big glorified, huge practice. Everybody that you've got that's coming back next year, they get to play. Look, we loved Milroe and whatever from last year. I would have done the Cam Ward treatment, given him no more than a half.
Sure.
And start my quarterback battle in the second half and say, okay, here's the guys that didn't get a start. Here are the guys that are going to be here. And these couple of teams, by the way, that had a guy in the transfer portal and they let him play in the game. I'm not doing that either.
Well, that was going to be my point, is that you don't even know who's going to be on your team.
Right.
I mean, the transfer portal just murders these teams because you have, during the playoff, there's a portal opening, which is wild to me. And then there's another one after the spring game. So anybody that was in your spring game.
Starts like next Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so they may already be out the door.
Which, by the way, is why they stopped televising a lot of them, and like why a lot of them people aren't doing. Like, we're not doing a spring game. We're doing a spring practice untelevised.
That's the thing is a lot of schools are pulling out of the spring game because why even have it? I mean, all you're potentially doing is giving film to other schools to come get your guy in the transfer portal. So then say somehow your roster lives through that. There's another opening at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, you can lose them during the playoff. You can lose them right after spring game. You can lose them at the beginning of the season.
There isn't one at the very beginning of the season. What guys are doing at the beginning of the season is basically saying, I don't want to play for you anymore and having to sit out the whole season. So it's not necessarily a portal opening. You're just
it's not when the actual season starts, but the practices are. The practices are going. So you can still leave as you're leading up to the season because there's one basically at the end of summer quarter. And so
I don't think it's not a portal opening. You can't like just jump into it then. Anybody who wants to leave in the fall has to wait until December.
Oh, I thought there was one more.
They changed it where it's
so
that's part of the problem. Yeah, it's the December one and the spring one.
Okay.
So your last chances to get out. Like guys that you see like pick a team at the beginning of summer. I mean, at the end of summer, were guys who jumped in the spring and just never got picked up. Because there's a lot of people who jumped in the December one and still didn't get picked up. And that's the other thing. The December one starts right after the conference games, the conference title games, but before any bowl games and playoff games. And then it just kind of lasts through. So if your team is in the playoff, you have until I think it's like 5 days after your last bowl game to still get in. So the transfer portal technically closes for everybody else, but you can stick around with your team and they're like, hey guys, national champs, appreciate it. Great job. I'm out. So it seems like it's way, way longer.
Yeah. And I agree with Glenn.
Yes.
Like football should be done.
Yes.
And then cool.
Yes. So do you know why? And I don't know if this is even official. The reason why I always think it is the way it is because of the early signing, the signing period or whatever. And I think these guys are jumping in the transfer portal because they're like, oh, if they sign their whole class, they won't have room for me. So I better hurry up and find mine too. And I'm thinking, you played the whole year, you grabbed your NIL money for the whole year, but you're not going to finish the job. Like I can't imagine an NFL player playing all 17 games and then be like, hey, since I'm about to be a free agent, I'm not playing in the playoffs. Like that doesn't make sense to me. But
Yep.
we're paying the college kids for a whole year and they get to leave before the last game. That doesn't make sense.
No,
So,
I mean, you are a professional athlete at this point. You're getting paid.
yeah.
So I think in that scenario, they should take some of that money away.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it's a job at this point. Like that is what it is. If I just don't show up, I don't get paid. Like it's weird. Who knew?
I agree with that.
So, I mean, college at some point should get these kids ready for life. So you're going to encounter that kind of action literally the entire rest of your existence. So, I mean, that should be a part of it. And I would bet that a lot more of these kids would be like, oh, yeah, let me go ahead and play this because otherwise I got to give some of this NIL money back.
Yep.
Or, maybe it's a, rather than a lump sum, maybe it's a participation, incentive-based kind of thing. It's like, oh, yeah, treat it like the NFL contracts.
Yeah. No, I agree 1,000%. The thing about a guy that's deciding to hit the portal the day after the conference championship games, that means when did he actually check out of stuff? So you might say, oh, it got it up to here, but how well did he play in the last game that we played? And like, what else do you start looking at? And what kind of guy? This is why I also hate when guys like this get picked up to them, because there were several guys who did that. They were on playoff teams.
I mean,
you're really going after
coaches, though. Also, that can be said about coaches too.
Yeah.
And when they're like, oh, I'm switching schools, it's just like, yeah, okay. But were you already like in the back of your mind building your, rather than preparing for these bowl games or whatever, were you already thinking about, oh, who's my staff going to be? And,
Yeah. That's why I have a lot of respect for Sark, because he won a national championship after he had signed to be the head coach at Texas. Because we had several coordinators who were leaving for other schools. And you were like, that last game that you called was kind of trash. Like, that was not your best work, And Sark still went out and won one before he left. So I appreciate that. No, because you're absolutely right. How, especially with the way college football is, if you sign with a new team and it's a December, bowl game, December playoff, but the early signing window is like middle December and the transfer portal's open. When you're doing game planning, how much of it is game planning? How much is recruiting for your new team? So it doesn't, that part makes no sense. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the biggest thing is you're just like mentally, are you split? And I mean, it's no different for the NFL too. Like when you have these coordinators that are interviewing for head coaching jobs, like I get that the rest of the league, their season's over because the playoffs, whatever. But it seems like they should also have to wait till the end of the Super Bowl
season,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I get there's we just happen to be on the same ski resort. I mean, okay, so stuff happens, but it's but yeah, I mean, I think there needs to be like a uniform time period, because it's like, oh yeah, some of these guys they can talk, but otherwise it's tampering, and you're just like, okay, like just make a date, right? Just be like, this is the date that you can approach, and that would work literally everywhere.
Yes.
After the Super Bowl, after the national championship, I don't.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem hard.
College is never going to work because of their time periods being all screwed up.
For sure.
December waiting for the bowl games, but then they have the early signing period and the transfer portal opening. If you're a new team, you need to get your coach in place to navigate that if you've already fired your coach. So they're absolutely their timing is just all screwed up, because I absolutely agree. It should be move everything back to January if that's really what we need to do. Don't have a December transfer portal and a spring transfer portal. Just have one. That way, at least, and the spring one makes more sense to me because I've gone through spring practices. I can see exactly where I sit kind of leading into next year. And that's without half your freshmen even being there. Some are early enrolled, but some haven't. But if I wait till the end of spring, right? I've talked to all my coaches. I've gone through the spring, window. If you have a spring game, whatever, I've seen everything that I need to see. And if I'm like, I'm not getting traction here, okay, then I'm in the portal. I get that. We've got a whole summer to sort it out. But the December one, that's just mercenary stuff right there.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's I don't know. I'm not a fan of the way that it operates. Or if you're going to have multiple locations, have it by like when your sport starts. So say you're playing, you have a football scholarship, and I get it, whatever. There's going to be multi-sport athletes there, and they'll find a way to hit that loophole, I guess. But for the most part, if you were there for football, have it be the spring one, right? Because that makes sense, because then you have all of the summer practices to get ready for the season. And then the fall one, make it, for baseball and track or whatever, right? So they're ahead of when their sport starts. So, I mean,
and you've played a whole year for your team.
Exactly. So, I mean, that would make sense to me. I just don't like how many times you can kind of ruin your own team. And I can't even imagine how that is for the coaches, because that means you're spending so much time recruiting your own guys.
Yes.
You're not even doing a good job recruiting people, maybe at other schools, I guess. But I mean, your new students coming in, right?
Yeah.
Like recruiting was already a almost full-time job of its own. And now you're saying you have to spend all this time trying to recruit your own guys? Like, this is ridiculous. I definitely get why a lot of the old school coaches are like, you know what? I think this is a good time to just be like done.
Yeah, 1,000% right. Nobody wants, like you said, you're in a practice and you're thinking to yourself, if I yell at this guy too hard, he might leave. So do I got to be a little nicer? Or if I yelled at him, do I got to go make nice afterwards? Do I got to figure out a way to keep him here? And it's not even under the table anymore. People are openly calling your players and trying to poach them, So it's crazy.
Absolutely. That gets us to the top of the hour. A little bit of a weird show today.
That was great. What about
a little choppy. That being said, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. You can also help support the channel. You can be one of the members if you sign up there. And then, of course, if you're watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. Otherwise, we're going to get out of here and hope that the rest of the day goes a little bit smoother for everybody. So take it easy, everybody.
Roll Tide, everybody.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports.